we're up against the cold warlords this week. It was nice of the NAF to give the team some bereavement time, but it's back to business as usual. Another Norse team, no need to remind you what happened the last time we faced one. This time there's a yeti to contend with. Vicious and blood crazy. These hulking abominable furies may only be as fast as a halfling, but those claws will tear through high-level armor like paper, and they have this presence on the field that players within range feel so intimidated, they struggle to make even the simplest of passes, intercepts, or even just to catch the ball. Worst part? The Yeti doesn't need to be standing. Even when proned or stunned, the sheer fact that it's still on the pitch is enough to make the best thrower in the world fumble. The upside is, this thing is a wild animal, meaning there's really a 50-50 chance the Yeti will just ignore the coach's orders unless they involve maiming or attacking the enemy team, which still isn't a given. But if it does follow the orders to attack, it will do so in a blind frenzy, making it harder to realistically go for those blocks or blitzes that the coach needs. Then there's the fact that wild animals kinda can't be team players, so are treated as loners, which Knuckle despises. So there's that. Really, I don't know what to say. The last game was really hard on us. We lost too much. But we proved that we could beat the Norse. And I know that we can do it again. Yeah, I think that'll work. And look at the time. I really should get back and give the prep talk to the team. Thanks for helping me practice one more time. Look, I'll promise I'll come round every once in a while and catch up with you. We miss you, brother. We always will. Take care. For the game against the Cold Warriors, the weather matched the team's morale. Lousy. The loss of Tony hit like a charging Croxador. We were crushed, but we had to keep going. Like I've said all this time, this is Blood Bowl. Player deaths are like public transport. Rarely they show up when you want them to, but they'll always show up when you have your pants around your ankles. And that's a story for another day. We had a lot of career-threatening injuries, but we needed all the money we had for the Knuckle altar, so we would have to dig deep and go with what we had for now. As the players lined up, the Master Chef fired up his stove, and we used what petty cash was left to set up our Old Faithful. Once again we would have to contend with Boomer, a sheer reminder of the tragedies we'd faced, making it hard to shake the dread that was already going through the team. So the coin was tossed, the calls were made, and the Proudfoots would go on the offense. Lost in a hypnotic display of culinary craftsmanship, the Cold Warriors misplaced their Knuckle offerings. Luckily, we found them, but they didn't need to know that. As skull-sized raindrops kissed the field like artillery fire, the warlords fluffed their kick, allowing a chance for some brilliant coaching from myself that earned another offering in by making a call to Samwise, who, despite the ball being absolutely waterlogged, caught that pig bladder with ease, much to everyone's shock and awe. Our turn had begun. Triby had started things off by taking root and pushing Boomer back, making me wish I had kind of re-rolled that rooting. With that, the Proudfoots moved to strengthen the line of scrimmage, allowing Rudo Sudo a blitz on the lineman Geir Sigurdsson, smacking the Norseman down, but not following through, keeping that wall for Samwise to run behind, with Frodo, Gobby and Tom Selleck strengthening our formation. This, however, meant that Boomer was unopposed for the time being, and we all know too well how dangerous that can be. With the numbers game in his favour, Frito sends the lineman Holstein flying to create a gap for Hilbo to zip through and mark Boomer, with Mary making a mad rush to join him, ensuring no bombs would ruin our drive. On their turn, the warlords changed formation, moving their heavy hitters upfield in an attempt to dismantle our defences and gain the possession of the ball. With the strength advantage, Vigfuscatler goes for a blitz on Frodo, the halfling narrowly avoiding the first strike, but was bested by the second, temporarily removed from the field, leaving Samwise somewhat under pressure from the Berserker. Feeling a bit ballsy, Boomer hurls the bomb into Samwise's direction, only for it to be intercepted by Treebeard, who returned the favour, sending the ball into the Ulfverner Ulva Canis Lupus. Seeing the danger of another return, Hilbo tried to put the Wolf Warrior off his throw. This caused an accidental pass to Sigurd Ketilsson, who fumbles, blowing up the 3 players involved in that little exchange. Turnover. Frito pushes Vigfuscatler back in an attempt to create some space for Sam, who takes this as an opportunity to run into the enemy team's half. With Samwise upfield, Minto moved to provide Gobby the assist on Vigfuscatler, taking that Zerker to the floor. Realising Sam was still under pressure, Smeagol moved upfield to slap some pressure of his own onto the Warriors, and as Hilbo picked himself up, Wudo went for a blitz on Geir Sigurdsson, striking the lineman hard and knocking him out cold. This freed Merry to make a ballsy block on Boomer, sending the goblin flying into Smeagol's tackle zone to end our turn. 2 turns in and things seem to be going well. Our defensive formation could have been better, but we still had enough players supporting Samwise to make a block on him kind of risky, and the Warriors agreed with this, reforming to just keep a wall of muscle in our path. Holstein made their game plan clear as he moved into Blitz Hilbo, delivering a sharp hook like his name was McGregor, knocking the fling out where he stood. But they weren't done there. Noticing Gobby's fatal mistake of following through on his block, as Snorrison used the 2-on-1 advantage to punch the halfling down, ending their turn. As Treebeard kicks another Norseman to the floor and Gobby rose to his feet, the rest of the Proudfoots moved to lock up the 2 warlords they had been dealing with. And in a move I want to say was because of tactics and not because he hadn't done it for a whole 5 minutes, Wudo yeeted Samwise through bullets of H2, oh my god, downfield. Thankfully the halfling was pulling a workload today and landed perfectly despite the surface having about as much traction as oil covered in oil. This allowed him to freely run to the edge of the end zone to waste some time. With this, Smeagol stuntily ducked away from a 4-man mark to loop around for a blitz on Boomer, stunning the best chance the Warlords had of stopping us with a wicked shank toss. God, I love that move. With our turn finished, the Warlords changed their plan, blocking our players off and stifling any support for Samwise. With our ball handler isolated, Eaglegear makes a mad rush to blitz the halfling, but the waterlogged ground gives way, causing the Norseman's feet to go from under him. And thanks to the chef, Nuffle wouldn't be granting any second chances. Turnover, but we wouldn't get away with trying to run the clock down any further. Wudo kicked things off by kicking Ulva Canis Lupus to the curb, and Holstein must have had a pants to ankles related wardrobe malfunction because death came crashing for him in the guise of a mighty blow from Treebeard, boosting morale that little bit. Wasn't a Fury X player, but we'll take it. With that, Samwise played it safe and went for the touchdown. 1-0 to the Proudfoots, but we couldn't afford to ease off. Realistically, when on offense, you want to score as late as possible, as to give the opponent less time with the ball when you kick back to them. A 4-turn touchdown from us gives them 5 turns to equalise before the next half, and with the casualties they had, the Warlord's big guy would now be a factor. However, we gained a boost as Boomer was sent off, meaning there would be less chance of raining bombs added to the already downpour. So, on the kickback, Merry fluffs his kick a bit, and once again my coaching was hailed and another offering was added, essentially making Nuffle our bitch for the rest of this half. The ball scatters just behind the line of scrimmage, which isn't a bad place to be. If we break through, it's ours. If not, we can wall in the opposition. The turn began with the warlords mobilizing their pressure, marking players and even taking out Tommaso on a blitz. One problem was, they forgot about the ball. And when they tried to signal this to Dragmal the Ice Boy, not joking, that is his name, the Wild Yeti was too focused on making Tom Selleck his lunch to care. With Tom down and the Yeti in our half of the pitch, Wudo Pseudo initiates a blitz on Finn Scalagrima, knocking the lineman out and slipping away from the Yeti to protect the ball. As the Proudfoots move to mark the Warlord players, Treebeard stomps a mud hole into Az Snorrison to free himself from the Yeti as well, because a tree that isn't locked down is worth two in the bush. Or however that saying goes. With our team making waves, Merry moves to assist Minto Twinto in a block on Vig for Scartler, knocking him down and ending the turn. Recognising the hassle to get the ball, the Warlords focused on thinning out the team, as Alpha the Scornful chased Hilbo down once again, sending the now unconscious Fling to the dugout. Tom would take yet another blow from his Yeti foe, but showed how tough the Doughballs can be. Keeping up the offense, Oliver lashed out at Samwise, who danced around the Ulferner, keeping up his stellar performance so far. Our turn again, and Fredo, feeling that this was his moment for glory, ducked away from the Ice Boy's grasp to link up with Wudo Pseudo-Neil the ball, whilst the rest of the team marked any unflinged player, allowing Wudo Pseudo a blitz on Anfleer the Scornful, pushing the Ulferner further back and keeping the ball safe. With this, Merry dodged the fist of Vig for Scartler to mark up Eagle Gear. With our right side of the field sorted, the Proudfoots worked on the left side, with Treebeard pushing Az Snorrison into Gobby's tackle zone. Warlord's turn, and to quote a famous man, "Let the push meet the shove," as Minto withstood a frenzious blitz from Vig for Scartler. And with that, the push train didn't stop, as both Merry and Gobby deflected clothesline attempts from Eagle Gear and Az Snorrison respectively. Smeagol, however, was where the train came to a crashing halt, as Grimfriar's clothesline struck home, turning the Fling almost inside out, leaving him stunned. Even Samwise was finally taken out by Oliver's frenzy. But to the Warlord coach's dismay, the Yeti refused to heal and would chase Tom further down the field. This was the downside to a frenzied wild animal. With the Yeti tied up, Fredo picked up the ball and calls for a game-changing yeet from Treebeard, who responded by trying to take root, forcing us to burn an offering to Nuffle, meaning we would have to hold on that yeet for now. With plans scuppered, we took to locking down players, Wudo Pseudo kicking Eagle Gear to the floor, and with this Merry looked to rush in for a blitz on Az Snorrison. But the Norseman, along with everyone else in the entire stadium, saw it coming a mile away and swatted the halfling down, removing him from the drive. Turn over. Like a pack of wolves cornering a hare, the Warlords pounced, as Sigurda Kettleson blitzed Fredo. Thankfully, the halfling dodged, keeping our chances to make things 2-0 before the halftime alive. But things didn't look good. Gobby and Minto were both knocked down, and the treemen were marked. But Nuffle must have blessed us, as Vig for Scartler told his wolf warrior buddy to assist the other warlords. And this hubris would be his downfall, as Minto picked himself back up and with a risky block, pushed the Zerker away from Wudo Pseudo, freeing the treeman up. This was it. Wudo Pseudo moved to Fredo, picked the halfling up and yeeted him to the end zone. Images of cheerleaders dancing and the crowd roaring filled his head as he flew through the air. This was Fredo's moment. And he crashed and burned. Nuffle tried his hardest, but it was not meant to be, and to finish the half off, Minto would be knocked out by a warrior's lariat. Half time, 1-0. I told Fredo to forget about it. He'll get his moment sooner or later, but I won't lie. 2-0 would have sealed the match there and then. Now we would have to try and repeat our first half performance with almost half the players. Things would be rough. Once again, the chef pulled through for us, and we would take all of the warlords' offerings. But we were clearly outnumbered, and the warlords thought so too. As Smeagol kicked off, Gobby moved in for a preemptive blitz on Finn Scalagrima, taking the Nord by surprise and breaking his neck, giving us a huge boost. By the time the ball had landed, the Proudfoots were unified, ready to take on what was coming their way. And what came their way was a world of pain as the warlords ignored the ball and went for the players, stunning Smeagol and really going in hard on Fredo, causing the fling an injury, to which the apothecary was used. If they got a touchdown, we would need all the players we could get. Once again, the Yeti refused to listen to his master, this time doing nothing, and with that the warlord's turn would be over. Treebeard thanked the Yeti with a nice boot to the face, and with the ball completely unguarded, Wurosudo picked up the first fling he saw and yeeted it to the ball. But unfortunately the surface gave way, and our fling crashed hard. That fling was Tom Selleck, who picked himself back up and gingerly moved to pick up the ball. But with Nuffle already called upon, and Tom's movement quite lacking in pace due to that injury, we couldn't really risk going anywhere. This decision would be punished, as a sharp-eyed As Snorrison rushed in for a blitz, just reaching our ball handler and knocking Tom out cold, making me second guess whether or not to have risked that one extra yard, as now we were down to 3 flings and 2 trees. Make that 2 flings and 2 trees. Safe to say, we were really low on players and options. Wurosudo initiated a blitz on Vig for Skartler, but could only get a pushback, wasting said blitz. Treebeard's kick, however, hit home, as both trees slowly advanced upfield. But the Norsemen knew they had the numbers game, and things went bad to worse as Hilbo knocked himself out, making a rush to pick up the ball and move to the end zone, taking us down to a total of 3 players, and the warlords had their plan sorted. Once again ignoring the ball, they made their intentions quite clear, as Smeagol was taken out of the game. Why go for an equaliser and risk bringing back the entire team when you can just take everyone out and win by forfeit? But with that decision, they had to contend with a treeman, and those guys don't go down so easy. As our turn began, Wurosudo gave Anfleer the mark of the clog, stunning the Ulfverner with that mighty blow. Treebeard could only amount a push on Eagle Gear, but we were getting closer to the ball. But sadly, things could only go our way for so long. Treebeard attempted a blitz on As Snorrison, but could only get a push, and with Eagle Gear still in the way, he was unable to move. Unable to suppress his instincts any longer, Wurosudo rooted himself to the ground, killing all momentum we had. Even worse, his block attempt on Vig for Skartler backfired as the Berserker knocked the treeman down. The warlords themselves were too caught up in their game plan. They wanted to make sure they took us to 0 players, and needed the right opening to start laying the hurt. While Wurosudo failed to get back up to his feet to blitz Anfleer, Treebeard made up for it by putting the Ulfverner 6 feet under. Turn after turn, try as the warlords might, they couldn't put the treeman away, and before they realised it, they had run out of time. Full time, 1-0. Miraculously, we had hung in there, and we had come out with the win. And, even better, no long-term injuries. Samwise was rightfully awarded MVP, and with the star player points the team had accumulated, Nuffle blessed Treebeard with more speed to negate the hardship of getting back up, and Samwise was granted more agility, making him our main ball player. Gobby had joined Hilbo in our designated dive tacklers, but sadly, we were coming to a point where we would have to say goodbye to the injured players. With that low agility, Minto was the first player to be converted to a full-time coaching role. It was sad, but we still had a job to do. That win took us to 4th place. And with 2 of the top 4 set to face each other, our next win could potentially take us to 2nd, if Nuffle blesses us. But to get there, we would have to face a branch of the Kislev Circus, the Frozen Tsars. And with that acrobatic background, things would not be easy. But with a full team of fighting fit flings, all I can say is, bring it on. Okay, that's it for today's adventure. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell thingy, and follow me on the Twitters. Also, don't forget to check out some of my other videos. Who knows, you might find something you like. And finally, tune in next time where we play the 5th round of the NAF Autumn Championship against the Frozen Tsars. But until that day, this has been Techno Odin. Stay safe, claim skulls, and may Nuffle bless your dice.